You're listening to the world of Malcolm Noble's crime fiction.
Across South Leicestershire and North Northamptonshire.
On 102.3 FM and online at www.harbourfm.co.uk. 102.3 HFM.
Where are you?
Mother, you know where I am. You phoned the Dorking Hotel.
But where are you when I need you? Elizabeth, someone has murdered the maid.
Harbour FM presents Kate Gamble as Lizzie Waldron and Bev Crowther as her mother in Lizzie Waldron and the Dead Sittingroom.
Don't poke your fingers, Elizabeth, please. Not even in a railway tea room.
I never liked syrupy cakes.
What an ungrateful comment when you know your mother's nerves are on edge. Who can believe that my gardener's murdered my maid? What sort of a house do they think I'm running? It really is too distasteful.
I shan't eat it.
You always were a willful child. If you don't want it, I shall wrap it up and take it home. A succulent piece of cake will go very nicely with my beanbags at bedtime. Really, you're not here to be fussy, Elizabeth. Murder's been done in my sitting room, and all you can do is complain. Sometimes I feel you're determined to disappoint your mother.
They've let Roots go?
I promised to keep an eye on him. I mean, where is the old fool going to run to? He's never happier than when he's in that garden shed. They questioned him for 3 hours. He put hemlock in her tea. That's what they're saying. I can't believe he'd kill anyone. It really is too distasteful. Oh, I can't sit here looking at it. Give me that cake if you're not going to eat it.
That's nonsense. He couldn't have mixed a fatal dose without the girl tasting that something was wrong. It's awful stuff. I remember he used to make me drink it when you wanted me to be sick.
What a wicked thing to say.
You were always trying to clean me out. If not one end, it was the other.
Well, I hope you'll have the decency to keep such stories to yourself. I'm not bringing you back from Dorking so you can embarrass your mother. And there's to be no nonsense with that fool of a policeman. He's still moping around the village.
I don't think I met your last maid.
That cannot surprise you, Elizabeth. You so rarely satisfy your obligations. Sometimes I think I could be quite poorly and my own daughter would know little about it.
Unlikely.
And I wish you wouldn't call her the last maid like that. Sounds so final. Poor Rhoda. She was probably the worst of the lot. No second thoughts. That was her trouble. She didn't give herself no time to properly consider. She wanted to leave, but I said I wouldn't speak for her until she persevered for 3 months. She was far worse than Hilda from Shettlington, and she was bad enough. There'd been a great falling out between them.
Between Rhoda and Shettlington Hilda?
Don't be clever. You know your mother means Rhoda and Roots. It was all over the kitchen garden. Roots said it was out of doors and his, and she said it was for the kitchen and hers. It's very upsetting for your mother. I could feel my tubular glands inflating with the nerves. I saw no option than to share them with Dr. Dalton. My own daughter was in Dorking, I'm afraid, though she's yet to tell me why.
And what did Dr. Dalton do?
She had words with them.
Your glandular tubes?
Roots and Rhoda. Smartness does not become you, Elizabeth. She arranged an afternoon tea in my sitting room so that they could patch things up in front of me. She was very much like that, you know. She was a magistrate in the war.
And it was definitely hemlock poisoning and definitely taken at this tea party.
We can hardly call it a party, Elizabeth. The poor girl died.
But not from Root's pot of hemlock tea. I've already decided that. What else did she eat?
Rhoda made some spicy flapjack.
No, she didn't poison herself.
And Dr. Dalton bought some chocolate fancies.
Dr. Dalton? She's always under motor cars, isn't she?
She'd be a good one to start with, Elizabeth.
Yes, I think so too. As soon as we get home.
She can't hear you.
Oh, crikey. I didn't see.
How are you, Lizzie?
I was bound to, of course. See you. I should have worked out what to say.
I didn't mean to creep up on you. Please don't think that.
Where were you?
I was hiding in the edge.
Still hoping for CID, I see.
I didn't ought to be here, really. I've been told to stay out of it, but Poison's such a genuine murder, don't you think? I mean, murder on purpose.
Murder premeditated.
Lizzie, I wanted to explain things.
No, Mother's in one of her states, and that's the only reason I've come back. I want to talk to Dr. Dalton. Please, Nigel, nothing else.
She's round the back disemboweling an old Riley, and even if you could make her hear, you'd get no sense out of her. I've already tried.
You've got hedge growing out of your collar.
I suppose I look silly leaping out like that. Lizzie, if,
No matter what you were going to say, there's no point. Not anymore. Things have moved on.
You've, met someone else?
Yes, if that makes it easier. If that's what I've got to say. I want you to tell your people that I know that I'm overstepping the mark, and I'm sure the police will make a good job of it, but Mother has asked me to help. She thinks I'm good at this sort of thing.
Well, this time you're too late. I'm not so wet behind the ears as you all think. I have one or two very promising leads. Why do you think I was hiding in the edge?
I know. Murder must be a wonderful chance for a young copper to show what he's made of, and I did say you'd do a proper job. No, I don't know. What were you doing in the hedge?
I wanted to see if the murderer had come knocking on her door, of course. Who needs to keep the doctor quiet? Who has something to hide?
Just how much do you know? You were never good at telling a whole story. Did you ever meet the maid before she died?
Of course I did, 3 times, always a Sunday. She'd been up to my police lodgings complaining. She wanted to tell me that old Roots was trying to get a glimpse of her, if you get my meaning. Him in the garden, she called him. Mine, I wouldn't let her say all that she wanted. She was a little Miss Mischief, if you ask me. Oh, Lord, here comes Dalton. She's another one who thinks I'm a fool. I'm going to scoot round the back. Don't give me away, Lizzie.
That girl Waldron. It's good to see you. I shan't shake hands. I've been working on Henry's 6-cylinder. Big beast. Still, we'll have her working before the Oulton Park Festival. How's your mother, Lizzie? Coping, I trust. Last time I saw her, she wanted me to diagnose measles. She still does that sort of thing. She won't be told. What do you think of my eyes, Dr. Dalton? I've got nerves in my legs, Dr. Dalton. Sometimes I don't know what to say to satisfy her. You'd better walk round to the conservatory. I see you've got rid of that young pest. He's like a curse. Tell me, Lizzie, do you Scalex?
I can't say I do. Mother didn't compensate for a house without brothers.
Character building stuff, you know, Scalex trick. My Henry took me to that centre at Southport, just for a look, he said. But he couldn't stop me having a go. I showed those men a thing or two. They had to make me an honorary driver. I gave them no choice. Now, what do you want from me? I've had young Wedge snooping around my garden all morning. He takes notes, you know, in a notebook. I wouldn't be surprised to catch him with a magnifying glass.
You made some cakes for Mother's tea party.
Baking's not this Dalton's boat, I'm afraid. Not at all. I bought a pack of 6 from Lewis's. Oh, Lord, did I pass them off as my own? I'll be turfed out of the boys' brigade if your mother lets it slip. You know, if that girl had left your mother when she wanted to, she'd be alive today. This tip with the gardener was nothing at all. A few words soon sorted it out. Mind, the man Roots is a strange mix. He always insists that we talk in his shed. When I called on him this morning, he wouldn't look me in the face. Just went on shredding hemlock like stalks on his bench. A bit like, I don't know, gutting fish. Yes, gutting fish with wet lips.
Stalks or leaves?
Just the stalks.
Dr. Dalton, you're not a real doctor, are you?
Philosophy, darling. But your mother won't have it. Oh, for pity's sake, look at him now. He's examining the lawn. Do you think he keeps a bloodhound? As a pet, I mean.
Who killed poor Rhoda?
Ah, who poisoned Rhoda the maid? No doubt about it, girl. I never have liked the fellow. Always creeping where he's no business to be.
Roots, you mean?
Not at all. No, you're thinking that it had to be me, your mother, or Roots. Just because we were in the room at the same time. I say poppy jumbo to all that. Come on, girl. It was this twerp Wedge.
Oh, hardly. The poor man wouldn't have the first idea how to do it.
Stands to reason. Why else was he hiding in my hedge? It will all come to light, mark my words. I bet he was sweet on the girl and she refused him, so he'd done her in. You know that men can't take rejection, that's the nub of it. I think he crept round the back of your mother's house. Didn't I say he was always creeping? And picked the hemlock from Ruth's bucket on the path. Then he stretched his arm through the open kitchen window and slipped it in the girl's tea. Isn't that rather clever? Too clever by half, that's what I say. He always has been. I'm sorry if you two still have a thing going, but...
Dr. Dalton, I'd like to invite you to tea. 4 o'clock with Mother. I wanted a few words with you, Roots, before Mother and the doctor arrive.
How are you, Lizzie?
I'm fine.
And you're eating properly?
Don't be silly, I'm fine. Really, I'm through all that.
I've always said that you inherited your mother's nerves.
That's all in the past, Roots. I wouldn't be here if it was difficult.
Only your mother mentioned the cake at St Pancras.
It was walnut and syrup. I've never liked syrupy cakes. And don't speak on Mother's behalf, Roots. You were never any good at it, and it only makes matters worse. I'm fine, really. And you're my best friend.
I never feel right in Mrs Waldron's sitting room. I prefer it in my shed. You loved being in that shed with me when you were an infant. You'd turn a bucket upside down and sit there for hours, just watching.
You talked for hours, Roots.
You may be right about that. A man amongst his flowers always has something to say.
Did you know that the maid had spoken to our police constable about you?
No, I didn't. Now, why would she want to do that?
She thought you were spying on her.
Well, you see, there's something in that. Tell the truth, Miss Lizzie, I was never absolutely happy with what that girl was about. Oh, you expect all maids to do a bit of sneaking here and there. A bit of nosiness comes with the calling, you might say. But I always had a feeling that she was putting things in rather than taking things out.
Putting things in?
Yes, in drawers and cupboards. Hiding them like.
Roots, what did you find?
Heavens, there you go. On the button from the start, Miss Lizzie. Well, I did come across something. I was spying on her, much as your young police constable might say, and I saw her tuck something in your mother's finicky drawer.
The one on her writing desk?
That's the one, Miss Lizzie. It was a letter intended for your mother. Quite vicious it was. Not the sort of note I could have left lying around for Mrs Waldron to find.
What did you do with it?
Do with it? I shredded it in with my hemlock. It seemed ideal being so poisonous. How's your detecting going, Miss Lizzie? There were 3 people in that room and each of them could have poisoned Rhoda the maid. Your mother, Dr Dalton and old Roots. Each of them could have, but I know old Roots didn't.
I know the truth, Roots. I was pretty much on it from the start. That will be Nigel. I thought we'd better invite him. Come in, Nigel. You know Roots, Mother's gardener.
Didn't ought to be here, really. If I asked, I'd say it was a CRD job.
Dr Dalton and Mother will be here in a few moments, and I know they'll be thrilled to see you.
What did the doctor tell you?
The cakes came from Lewis's. She's good at scale extric, and when Mr Roots shreds hemlock, it's like gutting fish.
Before we start, I want to say something.
Nigel, no.
About the dead maid. She was always coming to my digs when she knew I was grooming Pluto. Now, what do you think of that?
I don't want to ask. You've got a dog? And you've called it Pluto?
I'm not allowed, really, but I persuaded me landlady to buy a St Hubert's cross.
I don't believe this. He's got a bloodhound. Dalton will have him in clink before his bedtime.
Lizzie, this is all wrong. We can't lay out the room as if our little maid is still alive. You sit over there, Dalton.
You're turning it all into a game, Lizzie Waldron.
Dr Dalton, I assure you, murder is no game.
Then put your notebook away. You look ridiculous.
I didn't know what she saw in you.
We have 4 plates on the table, each with a slice of spicy flapjack and a chocolate cake.
From Lewis's, I hear.
But the very best, Mrs. Waldron.
Is everyone here?
Mother, Roots and Dr. Dalton have taken their places. And of course the empty chair is for Rhoda, the maid.
Lizzie, we must put a stop to this. The doctor is quite right. It's distasteful.
And where would the victim be at the moment?
Making tea in the kitchen.
Which felt all topsy-turvy. You see, she and Roots were supposed to be in this room so they could make friends in front of Mrs. Waldron. So I went off to the kitchen and told Rhoda to come back in here.
But before you left?
Before I left? Well, nothing.
What did you do with the extra 2 cakes? You bought a pack of 6, but only 4 were on the plates. So you had 2 spare.
Goodness, how clever of you. Yes, of course. I gave one to you, Mrs. Waldron, because I know how much you adore them, and popped the last on Rhoda's plate. Is that important?
Until the maid returned from the kitchen, Mr. Roots and Mrs. Waldron were on their own.
But not for long. I couldn't let a guest like Dr. Dalton skivvy in the scullery while old Roots rested his back in an armchair. So I asked Mrs. Waldron if I could take a turn at the sink.
Leaving Mother alone? In fact, Mother, you were the only one who was in this room all the time.
This is nonsense. Please, Lizzie, you're not here to embarrass your mother.
Dr. Dalton, you left Roots alone in the kitchen.
Yes, making the tea.
And you followed Rhoda to the sitting room.
She was a couple of minutes ahead of me. She'd finished the first of her cakes before I walked in.
You saw the empty wrapper on the plate?
Did I?
Did you?
Did ya?
Young man, must you behave like a parrot?
Let's move on. I'm sure the cake wrapper means nothing at all. I think it's very small-minded of Elizabeth to mention it.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't look. Well, I did look, and do you know, my word, it wasn't there. You're right, it wasn't there.
Wasn't there.
I don't understand. What does everybody know that I don't?
No wrapper means no murder was done in here.
It happened in the kitchen.
No, nothing at all happened in the kitchen. Mother?
I couldn't help it. I had to do it. I was sitting here all the time thinking, this is my house. You will allow that. It is my house. And she was just the maid. I know that things have changed, moved on since the war. A maid these days treats the house as her own. She thinks she's an equal. And here was the evidence. It was staring at me like some blatant truth, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I didn't think I was doing wrong. Something secret, perhaps, but nothing wrong. I thought I must make things right, as they ought to be. Everyone was out of the room, so I leant forward and I took it. I know it sounds dreadful now, because the poor girl's dead, but at the time, you understand, why should she have an extra cake, and a chocolate cake at that?
And the wrapper?
It was too gooey, left a smudge on the plate, and you all would have known, so I swapped the plates.
Good grief.
Quite right, Nigel. Good grief. We'll make a detective of you yet. There was no murder in this room, but we do have a case of attempted murder. Hemlock tea is nonsense. I've drunk too many, haven't I, Roots, to know that it tastes deadly. But masked by spices and sugar? Rhoda ate only one thing in this room, the flapjack she had prepared herself, and she was sure her slice was harmless.
But it wasn't, because the plates had been swapped.
Because? Oh, my dear Mrs. Waldron, the maid meant the poison for you. She prepared one slice of flapjack with hemlock and put it on your plate.
Oh, that's wicked! Wicked of all of you! Elizabeth, how can you let people think that your mother's a woman to be murdered?
She thought badly of you, Mother.
I'm afraid she was very bitter, Ma'am.
Is that what people have to say of me? An old crow who ought to be done in? No, Elizabeth, Dr. Roots, I will not have it.
You've been listening to Kate Gamble as Lizzie Waldron and Viv Crowther as her mother. Jack Gamble played Constable Wedge, Davy Quayle played Roots the Gardener, and Chris Pryor was Dr. Dalton. The music was from Freeze Effects. Lizzie Waldron and the Dead Sitting Room was written by Malcolm Noble.
So there's nothing to attract you back to our village?
I've new things to do. I shall persuade Mother to move.
The only way your mother will leave that house is in a wooden box.
But she can't stay in that room knowing someone tried to poison her.
Oh, give her time to reorganise. She'll make a lounge out of the dining room and leave the sitting room closed up.
Yes, my mother's dead sitting room.
The world of Malcolm Noble's crime fiction.